It doesn't matter how many times I watch that intro. It is so good. So far ahead of its time. Hello everybody, and welcome to a special series that I decided to make. For those of you who may not be aware of who I am, not that it particularly matters, I am Lansoon. I am a YouTube dinosaur, and I have played Super Metroid for going on 20 years now. Not that I'm particularly skilled at it, I'm mediocre at best in the grand scheme of things. But that is perfectly alright, because what I wanted to do with this series of videos was create something that's a little bit more beginner friendly. There's a lot about this game that I guess drives people away, and I wish I knew why, because there is a lot that you can learn about yourself as a gamer playing a Metroid game, especially Super Metroid, because I believe that the skill ceiling is so ridiculously high. And as we see the intro crawl here, we're seeing a lot of advanced techniques that are there for all to see that aren't really explained in the game. So here's my ridiculous little title screen. Not that it matters too much. I'm going to delete one, and we're going to start fresh. So if you've never played a Metroid game before, well, first of all, let me do this. You can, if you so choose, change your controller settings. I like the default. I think it's really good as far as button placement. I think it's really easy to dash and then manipulate whether I'm jumping or shooting. It really does help. And then you can just cancel with the Y button. Obviously, experiment with whatever it is that you want. Not everybody is the same. And then also we've got special settings that I have never used. The moonwalk, I mean, you got to remember when this game came out. It was 1994. Michael Jackson was not in his heyday, but it was a thing that you could do, and it sort of functions. I guess that the most relevant comparison that I could make is imagine when Link is charging a spin attack in some of the earlier Legend of Zelda games. He charges it, and then he's always facing forward until you release it. That's basically how the moonwalk works. It locks you in place, and you can move forward or backward. I don't use it. To my knowledge, there are some really advanced speedrun strats that involve the moonwalk. I think there's one called the Moonfall. That is beyond my skill level. I don't know. If you really want to dive deep into the things that can be done in this game, how amazingly you can break it. There's a number of runners on the Games Done Quick series who do all sorts of things, reverse boss order, things of that nature, just generalized speedruns. It's one of the most famous speedrunning games of all time.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
Thank you, Dan Osen, for your iconic commentary there. And this little opening screen is what gets us acquainted with who Samus Aran is. And it doesn't keep you blind to the fact that it's a woman under there. You can see her features are a little bit softer. I mean, she is a tough lady, all things considered, but it gives you a little bit of history on her, on the Metroid series as a whole. This is Metroid 3, as is told about in the opening screen, but it is Super Metroid. And her series of battles with the alien-like creature, I guess you could call them like xenomorphs. There's definitely a lot of similarities between them. But her first encounter with them was on not SR-388, planet Zebes against the space pirates, and that was Mother Brain. And then her second, well, kind of second, Metroid Prime happens, but let's just pretend that it didn't happen for right now. Following the revelation of what a threat the Metroid race was, it was decided that they were going to go on an extermination mission, and Samus was going to destroy them all. And she did, with the exception of one. After destroying the Metroid Queen, a final egg hatches. And a lot of people have gone back and forth of what they think about the infant Metroid, the baby, as a particularly infamous game in the series refers to it as. But more recently, we see it in the remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus with who we call Squishy. That's the nickname that the community seems to have given the infant Metroid, mainly due to the amiibo that came with the game, but that's neither here nor there. So following Metroid 2, she delivers Squishy to Federation scientists. This seems like it'll end well. But yes, the powers of the Metroid might be harnessed for the good of civilization. That seems entirely altruistic. No selfishness, no corruption, nothing at all that could possibly go wrong with this exercise. Got a lot of people in lab coats there. And of course, now that all is said and done, Samus leaves the station, and almost immediately after, it's under attack. A distress signal. It's under attack by an unknown figure. Now, of course, if you've played the other games in the series, you know who's attacking it. But the purpose of this series is just, if you've never played Super Metroid before, or if you have tried it and it seems unwelcoming to you, it's very hard for you to find out where to go, I'm going to treat this as if this is my first time. Now, of course, I'm not totally blind. I've done numerous 100% playthroughs of this game, but I'm not even using the run button because the game doesn't expect me to, and this seems like a very interesting attack. You notice that the tank in the intro scene, the title screen, that was containing the infant Metroid, gone. We've got a bunch of scientists on the ground. No music, just the ambient noise, and it really creates an eerie environment. And here, we found our target, the infant Metroid. And of course, this very ominous looking dragon figure, dragon, pterodactyl, this is Ridley, who is, some people debate on what his position is in the Space Pirates. Is he the leader? Is Mother Brain the leader? I really don't have a canonical answer for you. But the opening fight against Ridley is entirely optional. You don't have to really mess around too much with it. In fact, I've only legitimately, quote-unquote, beaten Ridley once in this encounter in my whole life. And once your health goes below 30, that's all that he needs to trigger the escape sequence. And there we go, right there. And it has to be below 30. You notice right there that I'm at 30, and that's not enough. Below it. And they love the Mode 7 graphics. There was a big push on the Super Nintendo to have the Mode 7 just create a sense of depth, perspective, and it was weird zoom-in effects like that. So now, our task is to escape. Ridley has stolen the infant Metroid, and it's up to us to give chase. He has beaten us, defeated us. And are we going to take that line down? No. I find it so interesting that this game did not really require you to learn how to run until a particularly noob-unfriendly point of the game. But even without running, I can escape in 30 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. So with that, in a very Metroid-esque escape sequence, almost every game in the series has one of these. I think the only exception to my knowledge that doesn't have an escape sequence, I'll have to think about it a little bit, but the only one in the mainline series that comes to mind is Metroid 2. Every other one that I can think of offhand has a timed escape sequence, even Other M. So we've given chase, and it turns out that Ridley has taken us back to where it all began in Metroid 1 on the NES. Planet Zebes, Zebes, whatever it is that you want to call it. And this is Samus's spaceship. Obviously reminiscent of the visor that she has. I do love this opening sequence because it's like you're exploring a long-lost ruin. You see all of these weird bacteria-like creatures that are sort of... This place seems like it's been untouched for years. In fact, ever since the original escape sequence on the first game. Now, there's not a whole lot that you can do to really experiment around here. You can try and open this pink door with your beam. It doesn't work. This blue door opens up, but unfortunately, it leads to a dead end. And unfortunately, Metroid cannot crawl. The old meme. But we will be back here later. And those who may be particularly observant and have played the original NES game might recognize this shaft. It looks a whole lot like the one that you escaped from at the end of Metroid 1. And you've got to understand, back in these days, and here especially, this is the tank that Mother Brain was in, and this was the onslaught of Zebetites, and the platforms, and the lava, and all that stuff that used to be here. This was unheard of for its time. Sequels didn't really take you back to the scene of the crime, as it were. And this is new, however. An elevator. Where is it going to lead us to? None other than the original screen in Metroid. There is no blue Brinstar music playing this time, though. Just that continued mysterious, ghostly, sort of ambient noise, setting the mood. This is going to be a dark adventure. And the first sign of life... What is this? Is it a beam? Is it a surveillance engine? But yes, I received the morph ball. And that is going to be very important. Because in lieu of crawling, I guess Samus can crawl, but in this bulky suit, it's very difficult to do that. So in lieu of that, she can turn into a ball and go through very claustrophobic little passageways. And this is a Chozo statue. Has its hand out, presenting something. Almost as if it's an offering. And with it, you get the missiles. These are super important. And this almost tutorial-esque way of presenting the game. It leads you on... It kind of handholds you and pigeonholes you down this path. Now, you can go left back the way you came, but... Typical video game logic dictates, hey, I want to go right. So, what do? We know that the beam does not work to open a pink door, but 5 missiles do. I don't like this. I like the later games in the series that make it only 1 missile to open up. I mean, because it's really just a key to a lock, right? Missiles are a key to the pink door lock. So, here we are, again, another one of those mysterious little searchlights, and you can see... as I get these missiles, these statue heads. Almost like there's a silent alarm that's been tripped. Our foray into planet Zebes has been met with just a bunch of nothing. Just these weird little amoeba-like thing. Not amiibo. Amoeba-like organisms just lying around, but there's nowhere to go but back. And you noticed As I was going up that elevator, the statue heads turned. What does it all mean? I kind of like this because going through gives you an opportunity to smell the roses and our first encounter with the space pirates. We've never actually seen these prior to Super Metroid, obviously in the order that the game's released. We did see them in Metroid Zero Mission, which is a remake of the original game, but that is not what I'm playing right now. So this was the first time that we ever saw what these space pirates looked like, besides boss monsters like Ridley and Kraid. Fortunately, though, there's no real stressful, explosive escape that needs to be made. I can take my time, relax, do it at my own speed. And there are people who, despite how fast I can go up this shaft, which is not fast in the grand scheme of things, even if I use advanced techniques, which I will quote-unquote learn later in the game, there are people who can go up this thing monstrously fast. Again, there is a huge speedrunning community, and a lot of people can say that this game was really one of the ones that innovated the speedrunning concept. But it's not just the space pirates that have shown up. You've got the Zoomers, or are these the Gamers? I forget. There's a lot of enemy overlap that happens over the course of the series, and some enemy names from the Prime series sort of blend in. I'm not particularly well-versed in enemy names in this game either, so I just call these bugs. And this is a route that I don't usually take, but I feel it's important for a beginner guide. This is a map station. Very important. If you don't know where you're going, find the map, and you will see, well, there goes down to Brinstar. There's 3 routes to get to Brinstar. That's a lot. Wrecked ship, whatever that is, and Meridia. Signs of things to come. All of the S marks, because there's not really a map key, I guess I may as well explain this. All of the S icons on the map are save stations. And you notice that yellow S that's on where Samus's ship is seems to be some form of special marker. Because if I was to go to this save room to my left, it's not going to be highlighted in any particular way. And once I get there, I will explain what that means. It's very simple, though. And it is convenient, because you gotta remember, the original Metroid game did not have a map for you to follow. Not only that, everything looked the same. There were no backgrounds. There was a lot of repetition in the rooms. So, as we can see, this just says S. It's not lit up or anything like that. The reason for that is because if I save here, you'll see now the yellow S is here and not on my ship. Well, what we can draw from that is that the S is if you decide to turn the game off and stop playing. Why on earth would you ever do that? But anyways, if you stop playing, that's where you're going to respawn at when you restart the game. Thank God for saving, because if the industry had continued on its really, really ill-advised approach of passwords for all of your save data, we would have had some problems. Have you seen some of the passwords from games in the later 80s and early 90s when they were too lazy to have battery saves on their cartridges? It's insane to me. Now I'm going to try and skip these just because I know there is a missile door here. So I'd like to shoot up some of these enemies and get some missiles. And I'm missing just one more missile. Watch me not get it. Okay, there we go. That's all I needed. And in here, we will see another Chozo statue presenting an item to me. Now, I do want to make note, there's not really anything that differentiates on your map when there's an item, or if it's just a map station or a missile recharge station. Save rooms are marked especially, but it'll say M if it's a map room. But you notice on my mini map in the upper right corner there, the map room just shows up as a white dot. White dots are, generally speaking, areas that have an item, although, you know, it's more or less a point of interest marker. So let us get the Morph Ball Bombs, which is a pretty self-explanatory thing. So you go into the Morph Ball and you set it with the weapon button. But oh! Something's fishy. Oh no! The statue has come to life! And our first sort of boss encounter with the Chorizo statue. Chorizo, I'm never really good with pronunciations. I guess you could call it a Chozo statue. Now, what are the Chozo? They are the bird-like race of creatures that created Samus's armory. Her power suit, her weapons, all of that stuff is Chozo created. And the Chozo, prior to the events of Metroid 1, did once upon a time call planet Zebes their home. And Samus may or may not have had a place there. Now, I am really messing this up. I never actually treat the Chorizo statue with any kind of slowness when I fight it. So the fact that I got that close to dying is pretty lol-worthy. Thankfully, I got an absolute metric ton of health dropped. So now that we have the bombs, a couple of opportunities have opened as far as... I guess you could always consider the fact that any item that you get in the Metroid series is sort of like a key to a different lock. Now, it's not always going to be a door. Sometimes it'll be a tiny little passageway that has blocks, which the beam will not take care of. But Morph Ball Bombs will, so that's another method of transportation. It's one of the reasons that I love this game so much, because it really encourages exploration. Obviously, if it's your first time playing. Now, if you've played it as many times as I have, you know where everything is, you know what everything does. The mystery is sort of lost on you, and it becomes less a case of where is everything, and more how fast can I get there. But we can go down here. Finally, Metroid can crawl, and we can progress through these bombable blocks and find missiles. As you go through the game, missiles are going to become, generally speaking, less valuable. You're going to get more powerful armaments over time. But early on, they're your best method of offense. In fact, I am surprised at how quickly the next upgrade of collectible armament comes. It really surprises me how this game was paced. But as I journey down into the depths of Criteria, these strange little mushroom things. And these are, I believe these are called Wavers. They're an enemy from the OG Metroid game, along with the Zoomers / Geemers, whatever they're called. And at the bottom we find a very special pickup, an energy tank. Every single one of these increases Samus's energy by 100. And you'll notice in the upper left corner there, energy now has a pink box next to it. Now, these, in typical video game fashion, differently colored enemies usually means different threat level. And these green space pirates are only vulnerable to missiles. Actually, can you bomb them? I've never actually seen. I guess you can. Why would you, though, when one missile takes them out? Oh no, I did not mean to do that. You know what? I'll open this up. May as well show this off. Because obviously, Video Game Instinct sort of says, hey, I want to go right. Well, if you keep trying to go right, you're going to reach dead ends in a lot of places. It's one of the things about even the original Metroid game when you found the morph ball. Now, this is a very special room. None of this is actually marked on the map. You notice the map station did not uncover everything in Criteria. There are secret passages, and you see on the map here, it says that I can go down. How do I go down? Well, this is a room hinting that there are 4 guardians. You recognize at the top, this is Ridley. But there's also 3 others who I'm going to be encountering over the course of my foray into Planet Zebes here in Super Metroid. And those 3 other big bosses. Now, it's not always something like the Chorizo, where it's, you know, a smaller enemy that gives an item pickup. In fact, Ridley himself does not give any items, but that's such a long way away. But he does unlock, as do all of the other bosses in that statue. They do unlock the passageway into the final area of the game. And speaking of passages, we make our way down to the true Brinstar. Now, that retro Brinstar with that blue rocky motif, that has nothing on this. This, I feel, is where the game truly begins. I love Green Brinstar. The music to me was so addictive to listen to, and one of the reasons that I love video game music so much is just how catchy it is. You can listen to it over and over again. It's such a joy to listen to. Now, this room is incredibly confusing. You see all of these pink doors, like, where do I go? There's so many directions I can take Samus into. So let's use video game logic and go right. I know this is the incorrect route, but it's not like I'm gonna leave empty-handed. And this is one of these areas that has respawning enemies, which are good places to restock your missiles, your energy. Very convenient to find these. Oh. But apparently I cannot cross the block here, the crumbly blocks, as I guess the community calls it. And can I can bomb, so that's important. Now, unfortunately, there's seemingly no way to progress. So I guess the only way to go is back. There are things, important things, in this particular room, if you're a more advanced player, that you're going to want to have access to. But again, I'm treating this with an entirely beginner-friendly approach. Just a tour guide through the planet of Zebes. Zebes. I called it Zebes for so many years, but of course, like so many other things Metroid Other M had to ruin, it had to ruin my childhood pronunciation of the name. I guess it's not exactly true, because Super Smash Bros. Brawl had a musical track where there's a monologue in it, and the pronunciation Zebes was first used there, but whatever. So Brinstar, there's a lot more disconnect. You see so many areas that are just, like, how do you even get to that bottom left room? Well, the answer is very simple. There's just a lot of hidden passageways. And it's up to you to be industrious and find them. Or you can, hint hint, keep watching this video series, and I will take you on a journey that will tell you everything that you need to know to 100% this game. And as you continue to go through it, hopefully, you can go through it fast enough to get the special endings that are available. There are 3 endings at the end of the game. Later on in the Metroid series, item percentage dictated special endings as well, but in this game, it's just completion time. So I think this is a good place to stop. We've entered Green Brinstar. We have some idea of what we want to do. There's that mysterious boss statue, which we need to know what's beyond, or what's beyond it. But I will continue next time on a beginner's guide to Super Metroid. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.